Singapore and Malaysia are working to set up a green lane and periodic commuting arrangement for cross-border travel starting on August the 10th. It's welcome news for many people, but operational details of the two schemes are still being discussed.
Before COVID-19 struck, more than 300,000 people used the causeway every day, among which 100,000 Malaysians commuted daily between both countries. One thing is for sure, things will not return to the pre-pandemic situation of commuters freely crossing the border each day.
So our next guest is looking forward to the resumption of cross-border travel. Aarathi Arumugam is president of the Malaysian Association in Singapore. Thank you so much for joining us, Aarathi. Now, the last few months haven't been easy for many Malaysians who live and work in Singapore. What are some of the challenges they've been facing?
Hi there. I think there are a few different challenges. One, the guys who are usually crossing the border on a daily basis, you're looking at difficulties in just getting home. They're used to going home to their families and now they can't. So they're having to find accommodation here and spending in Singapore dollars, but in Singapore, whereas they're used to obviously taking their Singapore dollar to Malaysia. I think that's the main challenge because they're having to figure out a new way of surviving, I would say, not even living. So they're having to spend a lot more on accommodation while they're here, food while they're here, transport. Obviously, many of them have bikes, but as you know, petrol and just general tolls and stuff are quite more expensive. So if they're already earning 1,200 to 1,600 and rental is about $480 to $700 a month, that's already more than half their salary gone just in rental, whereas their expenses back in Malaysia are still ongoing. They also haven't been able to see their families. Many of them have young children. Many of them are also the sole breadwinner, taking care of parents who are ill, and they haven't been able to go see their parents. So it's tough. It's been very tough.
And it's a mix of different challenges as well, right? Now, Aarathi, the resumption of cross-border travel is set to be gradual and in phases. For the thousands of Malaysians who commute to and from Singapore, what would you think be the ideal arrangement?
Ideal arrangement obviously would be a green lane, where the people who have to go up and down on a daily basis have some kind of controls put in place so that I think they were suggesting a controlled itinerary, certain tests that they have to do X number of days instead of every day, just to kind of make sure that we don't have that outbreak of a second wave. That I think would be the ideal situation. Everyone is aware that it is probably a long time coming for something like that to happen, I think, before all countries are comfortable for something like that to happen. But essentially that would be the ideal situation, especially for the individuals who go up and down on a daily basis. I mean, the additional expense has been quite taxing for them.
Right. Well, your association has provided assistance to Malaysians who have been unable to return home. Can you share with us the work that you've been doing?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, during the MCO, when MCO hit for Malaysia, and then obviously subsequently when circuit breaker hit, we assisted some Malaysians with accommodation expenses. So many of them found themselves in a little bit of a tight spot because they weren't able to afford accommodation, even though they still had jobs in Singapore. They weren't laid off, nor were they put on no pay leave. They were actually diverted to other roles within the company. So thankfully they were still earning a salary. However, it was insufficient, as I said earlier, to cover costs in Singapore while they were here. So Macy's set up a temporary assistance. We don't normally do this, but we set up a temporary assistance to assist with partial accommodation assistance. We also assisted in finding this accommodation because I understand that it was quite difficult for them to secure tenancies and leases, because as you know, in Singapore, it's quite difficult to get short-term leases and short-term tenancy agreements sorted. So we worked with lodges as well as 2-star and 3-star hotels to help us with preferential rates. And with our corporate partners' assistance, we managed to match the two basically. So we had funding from corporate partners and we managed to help them cover some of the accommodation costs.
Right.
While
Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, Aarathi. Thank you so much for your time. We were chatting with President of the Malaysian Association in Singapore, Aarathi Arumugam.